Okay, so UC Berkeley is getting threats from Donald Trump about cutting funding. Okay, because he's upset about the militant action taken by a small group of students amidst a otherwise peaceful protest from the Black Bloc. Didn't I just warn you guys about clever ninjas? I just said that. See, it can happen in any culture. Exactly, ninjas. Just be grateful that they weren't samurais. First of all, I like to point out, holding a weapon does not actually equate to violence. Okay? As a lot of your supporters know, because a lot of them own guns. And understand that you just lowered the pre-screening process to those who can access guns to open it up to the people with mental illness or that were mentally deranged. Okay, so violence doesn't actually seem to be the thing that you're worried about, because if holding weapons constitutes as violence, then why are you allowing people with mental illness to own guns? What it seems like is that you don't like this talking. However, I don't think the Berkeley that you're imagining is the Berkeley that is. If you're expecting a bunch of burnout hippies who are gonna, show up half naked with hula hoops to the quad, it's not the Berkeley of today. Much to my dismay, actually, one of my things I was a little disappointed in. But I did spend some time in Berkeley, regardless of what a certain shithead X has to say. And I was on Unit 2 building off of Durant, is the dorm where I was visiting on weekends. And I, dropped in some classes and walked around campus. And then during this, I smoked a joint on your little creek there, and awkwardly sat near the forestry department where my brother works, and used your library. But here, beautiful library, one of several. Here was my memory of my impression of Berkeley, was that these kids are really smart. Really, I humbly will admit, these kids, when it comes to book learning, are way smarter than I am. Really smart. And they were studying 6 and 7 days a week and allotting, they'd be like, we're going to casino night run by the university. I'm like, that's precious. That's how you party, that's precious. Now, of course, there's the frat route as well, where I often avoided parking. My car to be But what you're going to find are highly educated, incredibly smart kids who spend the majority of their time hard at work and only about, really barely any time being revolutionary. But if they did decide to make a time management shift and allot their focus and willpower to being more revolutionary, which is still an undercurrent at that school, you're not looking at sitting ducks. You're not looking at a quiet bunch of burnouts. You're looking at a really formidable adversary, and I would just be aware of that as you're doing what you're doing. Berkeley is one of the top 5, I think it's the 5th best school in the U.S., and it is the #1 best public school in the U.S. And why is that important? Well, not only does it leave them vulnerable to having funding cut, but that shows something about them, their spirit. Private school people are a certain way. There's a providence to the rich. Public school is different. And these are kids with diverse backgrounds, diverse understanding, and a very eclectic group that, with all those minds combined, could be a bigger pain in your ass than you want them to be. So I would just be mindful of that. Thank you, Berkeley. And as far as violent protesting it's not, but scary protesting goes. You know, this was an isolated thing of 100 kids who showed up armed as ninjas. So there's a little bit of humor there with the ninja thing, but as far as I understand it, they didn't use the weapons on anybody, right? And also, you know, you're talking about paid protesters. Well, how do you know they weren't paid? You couldn't see their face. How do you know they were even students? But you're going to hold the whole school liable? So anyone that does want to go that route of militant protesting, I understand it. I do. I don't condone it. I don't condemn it. But I would encourage you to look at the more creative outlets to protesting. Like really good examples are in Germany, Pink Bloc, Green Bloc, and Black Bloc, of just really smart ways to protest. You know, work smart, not hard, and you know, find ways to both get the attention and make the change. I understand peaceful protesting is pretty frustrating because it doesn't get a lot of results, having to do with a lack of visual unity, like what this Black Bloc just did, that's why you noticed, and having to do with a lack of creativity. Like a really great example was one that UCSC did that I always enjoyed. Students Against War protested the military recruitment with a queer kiss-in that they put in right next to them. And I always thought that was really great. Now that was the year before I was there, so don't even get me started. But that's a really smart way to do that. So exactly, what a great thing. Some things for the militant people to